Hello, everyone. This is again Dr. Giraldo Garcia. Today, I want to give you some advice as you advance writing your grant proposal idea. First, I want to remind you that this class was founded with the idea of actually writing a grant that you were going to submit. And I think that's a great idea. Okay, but nothing in the class would ever be depending on whether or not you got funding or anything like that, because we understand that this is a very competitive process. So even though it would be ideal that you completed the grant for submitting somewhere, we prefer to keep it as a standardized process and use the roof foundation, so we can follow the same guidelines and you have the same opportunities during the class, because there are so many different kind of grants, and then it is better that we all follow the same guidelines. Many funding or anything like that, because we understand that this is very competitive. Many federal grants require sometimes 40 or 50 pages. Some don't include a needs section, and they have different. There are different federal grants that have different guidelines. So the idea with the Roof Foundation is to have an established set of guidelines that apply to everyone in the class, okay? And so that the grading is fair and equitable for you, and that we make sure that we cover all the parts of a grant. So that's on one side. So even though you are required to submit it, or you are not required to submit it, but even though you are required to complete all the sections of a grant proposal, without the idea of submitting that formally to a different institution, funding organization, I suggest that you write with that intention, like you were supposed to submit it. So in that case, you will be covering all the needed aspects of a grant proposal. And that will be something that you can adjust later for your own purpose, for your own needs. I will look at this when I review your proposal. I will look at this as whether this is a reasonable proposal. If you are making a reasonable statement, claims, and then how you describe the needs, the outcomes. Also considering whether this proposal that you submit has a chance to be, funded. So that would be the main things that I will be looking for. Another thing that happens is that since you are learning, you will be building up, over time, you will be building up your skills. And it can be difficult to get funded when you are just starting out learning, but eventually you will learn tips and you will learn, the tricks and how to do the tables and how to organize your resources and assess the resources, review the resources that you have available. And then in that way, you will grow as you learn more and more, the ins and outs of writing a grant. But this will be your kind of guide step by step of the basic sections of a grant. Okay, grant writing is something that you really gain momentum at and get better at over time. It's not something that happens in the first time for many people. It doesn't mean that it won't happen for you. Even when you don't get funded, you get feedback. That's really important. That the reviewers will give you valuable feedback, and then you get information that you can use to improve your project, and then you can use that for the next try. Okay. Another one quick thing that I want to mention is that from last week and this week and moving forward, you will be submitting things as one document. So everything that you submit and you get feedback on, clean it, use that feedback, and then use the same document for the next section, to build the next session. And then we will be working on the same document throughout the semester. Okay, it means that you will begin to submit it like a proposal every time it's like you're submitting your proposal with a new section, so make sure you save a Word document, and the next week when you do goals and objectives, you have that section after your needs, and you will be developing everything in one document. Okay, the needs statement, the data you put in your needs statement will directly inform your goals and objectives, which should be in communication with one another. An example of that would be, let's say, have a project in mind to reach out to Hispanic high school students in the Monse community. So, well, if you're going to target 50 of those students, you should make it very clear that you know how many Hispanic high school students there are in Monse Central. You need to have a very clear indication of that, and you are able to lay that out. Okay, so I'm just giving you some tips that I think you need to know when approaching each one of the sections. Or maybe let's say you have 100 students, and out of those 100 students, you are targeting 25 based on your reasoning of what your target population is. So that has to be explained, and that you have a rationale behind that, everything that you are doing. Okay, so your needs and your goals and objectives should inform one another. And then at the moment that as you look at the document, it is helpful to go back to your needs and check that you are making connections with the needs statement, what you said needed to be done, and what you are proposing next. Okay, and what you are proposing as a goal of the project. You will learn a lot from reading your peers' proposals, and then I myself learn a lot just by reading proposals, by reviewing proposals, reviewing research, and in this case proposals. And sometimes I say I look at things and how people did things, how they organize the tables, how they organize the information, how they summarize things, what things are important to highlight. So we learn from that. And then based on the feedback that you will give, because you also are expected to give feedback to your peers, from the feedback that you give and receive from your peers, and from the feedback that I give you individually, or sometimes I give feedback to one student. So please read also my feedback to other students, because that can be possibly answering one of your own questions. Okay, and all those things will help you revise your document and improve in clean your sections. Okay, make the changes along the way. With the needs assessment, it's really important to have good data sources for every area you are looking at. Clear data and information related to the state and the city, or the district data for those at those levels are available. So check on the appropriate sources of the appropriate websites. Like for example, if you are doing a project related to education in Muncie, the Department of Education has really easy to access data. Okay, they have a Bureau of Education Statistics that collects data on every school in the country that's entered. And so you can put in the zip code of the area or the school district, and then you will get district data, and they also break it down to each school. So that's very important to know. If you are writing about an area, a geographical area, or a specific school, maybe district or something, it is good that it's important you have the information about, formal data for that specific school district, if that's the case. So you can find that information just by uploading, entering the zip code, and you will get in just a few minutes lots of valuable information. Okay. Some things that you could look when you are revising those data is whether the school is a Title I, whether students have a maybe eligible for free or free lunch. Okay, that's the student demographics. So very frequently, the zip code or the eligibility for free lunch is an indicator used in research as an indicator of a socioeconomical level. So keep in mind that also that variable if you are looking for information about a population or an area or a district. Okay. Having a target population needs to be there. Having a target population is important, and you have to have a clear description of your target population, as well as having a clear demographic area is important. Okay, are you looking at Muncie? Are you looking at Delaware County? And then within that geographic location, who's your target population? That has to be clearly stated, clearly described. Okay. Grant reviewers, they always want to know if your proposal is worth it, if it is worth it giving money to that proposal. And one of the challenges, if you are reviewing, if you're writing on behalf of a nonprofit organization, and if you were writing for a research grant or for you personally, the challenge sometimes is showing that you are not going to waste the funds. So the needs for the funds need to be clear, but also having a strong rationale for why you're asking this and how you will invest and use the funds. The greater good, what is the outcome of that, how you're going to measure that, that this will benefit your population. It has to be so clear as if you had already the evidence of that happening. So you have to show how you describe how you will use the funds, that they will be implemented in the proper way, that you will have a timeline. Okay. So the needs section is essential and one of the early sections that the reviewers has read. And so you really have to engage them and let them know that there is this problem, but the problem can be fixed. So you cannot describe a problem that is so immense that it cannot be fixed. You have to explain what the problem, but that you also, with this grant, with this funding, you will be able to fix or improve the condition of the participants in the program. Okay. The other thing is you can really condense a lot of information in a table. Tables are really helpful as you include your information and develop your grant proposal. Tables are a way to highlight or drawing attention to some of the most important data. And so when you have that key piece of information or data, it is helpful to put in a table to highlight that. And it's easy for the reviewers to go back and pinpoint the important data. Okay. When you have to go back and reference that table at a later point in the grant, or when you are writing up your review and things like that, it's really helpful to have a table. You might think about using tables, and sometimes you can look and play with the formatting, okay, and try to find the best and most efficient way to use that table. I recommend putting all the information you possibly can in that section, and then editing. In each of the sections. So everything that comes to mind when you're reading the chapters and completing each of the sections, whether those are the goals and objectives, write down all the goals and objectives that you think of at the moment related to the topic, all the needs, and then you can come back always and clean it, edit it, okay? So write as much as you can, or well, without going beyond reasonable, space. But write all your ideas. You can outline the ideas, so you can write down in a narrative way. But remember, you can always, this will be growing and being edited and cleaned up, so you can come back and refine it and then adjust it to the length, okay, the required length in the foundation's guidelines for writing grants. Something also to keep in mind is submitting late, passing the deadline. That's a no-no, because all proposals that come in past the timeline, all those things get you immediately, disqualified, especially in federal grants. So you have to stay within the guidelines. Think of that. Okay. You always want to ensure that you are using all the space that you have and making a compelling case. So not too little, not too much, not going beyond the number of pages or the number of words. Some, as I said, every grant organization have general guidelines or general sections that are the same for all grants, but they also have slight differences, from one to the other. So I hope this is helpful, and I appreciate any feedback or questions that you might have for me, and I can try, will do my best to address those questions in later videos or communications, or feel free also to email me. I do my best always to, give you quick feedback and help you out in the process. Thank you, take care, and let's keep writing.